All right, let's hit the scene. The year is 2000. The world is just stepping into a brand new millennium. And Bollywood? Well, Bollywood is about to get hit by a cultural shockwave. See it, a totally unknown actor with a name nobody could quite pronounce arrives on screen, and within days, the entire country is just completely obsessed. This wasn't just another hit movie. This was the birth of an absolute phenomenon.
And tornado is the perfect word for it. The craze was so intense, it actually got its own name, Hrithik Mania. We're talking about this collective, nationwide obsession that had never been seen for a newcomer before, and honestly, we haven't really seen anything like it since. He wasn't just a new actor. He was a full-on cultural reset that had the entire country in a chokehold.
So to put that into perspective, what does a cultural reset look like in actual numbers? Well, it looks like this: 30,000. That is the number of marriage proposals he supposedly got after his very first film, Kaho Na Pyar Hai, came out. It's an almost unbelievable number that just shows you the sheer scale of this mania we're talking about.
And this whole craze just seeped into every little corner of daily life. School notebooks were absolutely plastered with his face. Every kid in every neighborhood was trying, and probably failing, to copy his iconic dance moves. You know, the craze got so out of hand that some schools actually had to officially ban his posters just to keep some kind of order in the classrooms. It was absolute madness.
Now, here's what made his success so shocking. You have to look at the context. His debut was literally sandwiched between releases from the two biggest superstars of the time, Aamir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan. And their films, they flopped. But his, starring two complete newcomers, didn't just succeed, it became the highest-grossing film of the year. He basically came out of nowhere and completely changed the game.
I mean, at the end of the day, he just ticked every single box. As one person put it, he was a total upgrade on the traditional hero. He had the body of Stallone, the romance of Shah Rukh Khan, and dance moves like Michael Jackson. He wasn't just seen as a star, he was seen as perfection, a Greek god walking on Earth.
And this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. Because that myth of the flawless superstar, the guy who had it all from day one, it couldn't be further from the truth. What if I told you that everything we saw on screen was just masking a lifetime of private, painful battles? His first big struggle started way back in his childhood. He had a severe stutter, a speech impediment that made even the simplest sentences an absolute nightmare. While other kids were just talking freely, he had to summon this immense strength just to get a few syllables out. It turned every conversation into a source of deep anxiety and, of course, ridicule from other kids.
Just think about that for a second. He lived in such dread of having to speak out loud in class that he would do anything to avoid it, faking illnesses, even hurting himself on purpose, just to escape the humiliation. His childhood wasn't some glamorous star kid story. For a long time, it was lived in what he himself described as abject dread.
And you know what? The stutter was just the beginning. It was the start of a whole lifetime of health battles. At age 21, the man who would become India's greatest dancer was diagnosed with a curved spine and was told that if he even tried to dance or act, he could end up in a wheelchair for life. Later, a brittle knee condition. And then in 2013, he had to have brain surgery for a blood clot, a procedure so risky the chances of something going wrong were terrifyingly high.
But how did he get through all of this? Just sheer, bloody-minded willpower. And this one story, it just blows my mind. He once practiced speaking for 36 hours straight. Not for a movie dialogue, but just so he could clearly ask his cook what he wanted for dinner. That's the level of insane effort that was going on behind the scenes.
So you'd think overcoming all those personal demons would be the hardest part, right? But incredibly, his challenges weren't just internal. The very Hrithik mania that he had created was about to turn on him, making him and his family a target.
I mean, just imagine this. You're on top of the world, living the biggest dream of your life, and then, just 1 week later, your father gets shot. This actually happened. The mafia demanded a cut of the movie's profits, and when his father refused, they shot him. The trauma was so intense that Hrithik actually considered quitting the film industry right then and there.
And the threat wasn't just coming from the outside. Inside Bollywood itself, his sudden rise was met with a whole lot of jealousy. He was the ultimate outsider who just shattered the top league. Established superstars apparently felt so threatened that they gave him the cold shoulder on set, basically isolating the industry's newest and biggest sensation.
And that right there was the central paradox of his early career.
So on one hand, the public saw this flawless, anointed superstar. But the reality? Well, the reality was a man navigating industry hostility, underworld threats, crippling health problems, and the deep psychological scars of a severe speech impediment. So after surviving physical ailments, underworld threats, and industry isolation, he then had to face what might be the cruelest test of all for any actor: professional failure.
And look, this wasn't just a small slump. After that historic debut, he delivered a relentless string of movies that just failed to connect with people. From 2000 all the way to 2003, you had Fiza, Yadain, Man Prem Ki Divani who, one after another, they either underperformed or just flopped outright. The Golden Boy just couldn't catch a break, and you can only imagine the pressure.
And just as quickly as they built him up into a god, the media started tearing him down. A magazine headline from 2002 literally declared 7 flops, overexposure, and disastrous career moves finally spell the end of the Hrithik Roshan mania. He was being dismissed as a one-film wonder. Finished.
I mean, just look at this. Visually, his early career was completely lopsided. That one phenomenal blockbuster was almost drowned out by a sea of failures. From the outside, it really looked like the magic was gone for good.
But this is where the story gets really interesting. Because his comeback wasn't just about scoring another hit movie. It was about fundamentally changing his entire approach to his career and to his life. So the turning point was Koi Mil Gaya. At a time when everyone expected him to play it safe, do a typical hero role, he did the exact opposite. He took on this incredibly risky, unconventional role, playing a character with a developmental disability. And that huge gamble paid off massively. It became the highest-grossing film of the year.
This success, it sparked a whole new philosophy in him. He realized that stardom wasn't about being in some rat race. It was, in his own words, about using his power to empower good things, people, scripts. He decided to focus on versatile, meaningful work over just guaranteed hits, and maybe most importantly, to start prioritizing his own well-being.
And this right here is a huge part of his story that often gets overlooked. He openly gives credit to therapy for his ability to stay grounded and at peace. He's been so vocal about how important it is to work on your inner world, which is an incredibly rare and powerful thing to hear from a superstar of his stature.
And that really is the heart of the Hrithik Roshan paradox. The public fell in love with an image of absolute perfection. But his true story, it isn't about being flawless at all. It's about being profoundly flawed and broken by biology, by trauma, by failure, and then having the incredible resilience to build himself back up again and again. So in the end, his journey becomes this powerful lesson for all of us. He uses his platform to talk about something much deeper, self-awareness and doing the inner work. His wish isn't for more fame or success, but for a world where we all learn how to look inside. It's a profound thought from a man whose life is proof that the biggest battles and the greatest victories are the ones that happen within.